Hello, Mzansi. Welcome to yet another exciting episode of GameON. And boy, oh boy, do we not have plenty to get through today. Later on, we'll be discussing CAF-C licenses and those that celebrate getting their CAF-C licenses with a special guest in Nilisiwe Mutsuachai. That's later on in the show. Keep in mind, we'll also have the legendary Joyce Kosana in the second segment of the show, talking about all things local in our game. And to start things off, I got Shane McGregor. And Shane, we've got plenty to talk about with the start of football out in England and as far as the Premier League. And, well, let's start by talking about some of the movements this way and that. Some of the major teams, those that are in contention, and any signings that maybe have raised an eyebrow or two with you.
You see, I've got a big smile on my face.
Yeah.
The league is back. Let's chat. Start with my team that I support,
Liverpool, yeah.
No players in. Mm-hmm. I'm not too sure what's going on. I know they've been bidding for a player. They've gone back with rebid. Nothing's happened. So no players in. People, I heard one of the ex-Man United guys having a go that's saying that they're not going to end up in the top 6 this year. Well, we'll see what happens. But not a good start when you're not buying any players in, but we'll see.
I have to ask you this quickly on Liverpool. I had the feeling last season they were a little unlucky maybe in the striking department. Nunes maybe was the one area of concern, but they were building nicely. There's still some youngsters coming in. Don't you think it's a case of continuing on from where you left off from the Klopp era?
I think so, and I think that's going to be, obviously the new coach is coming slot and he's got to have a look at it and see where he is. He's going to rely a lot on Nunes. I think he'll play a bit differently to the way Klopp played. He's going to change it around at times, play the long ball, and that's where Nunes will come into it because that's his game, So we'll see what happens. I mean, Salah is getting near the end of his playing days at Liverpool, I would think. But we'll see. I thought they would bring in 1 or 2, but nothing. Unlike Man United, they've spent £140 million on players, brought 4 players in. Is it going to change their fortunes? I'm still wary at the back. They brought the Ligt in. Is it going to make a big difference? Only time will tell.
Now, let's talk about the two sides at the top, Arsenal and City. Firstly, are you surprised at the lack of activity from a Man City point of view? Because some would be thinking 5, 6 players coming in, but it's not the case.
No, Man City aren't like that. If you look at it, they sold Alvarez for 80 million, made a good profit, and they brought in a youngster from French football, Savio. Obviously, a straight replacement for Alvarez. I think he's wise because he's got a big squad already. He doesn't want to mess it around too much. They'll always be thereabouts. You'll probably find as we go along before the window closes, they'll bring a player or 2 in. Arsenal again brought in 2 or 3 players. I think Arsenal this season are going to push them even closer. In actual fact, we'll get to that a little bit later on, but Arsenal have bought wisely as well, but those teams are always going to be there and thereabouts.
Have to talk about the 3 incoming teams. Leicester, they've been there before. Ipswich, same. But Southampton are a special club. Over the years, they've given to the quality of English football with the production line they've had. We're going back many years now. But those are the 3 sides that are back.
Well, I think they've learned from that now, that they're going to give players, or not give players, or sell players off all the time. They have to. If they want to stay in the league, that's what they have to do. Those 3 teams have got to come in now and just stabilise and just survive this season. When I say that, just stay in the Premier League this season and then take it from there. This is the hardest thing to do when you're a team that's just been promoted, is to stay up. The hardest thing to do. Having said that, there are going to be teams that are going to be struggling along with them. The Evertons, they sold Onana, who I thought was their outstanding player last season. They haven't bought many in. Wolves have also sold a few. Neto has gone.
Yes.
It's that's a big blow to them. And they haven't bought in. Normally the Wolves bring in a whole lot of players. They haven't done that. So I think they're going to struggle. Brighton have brought a few players in. So all the smaller, when I say smaller teams, the teams that were from 3rd last upwards have brought players in, except for Wolves. So I think they're going to struggle. West Ham's another one of those teams that have brought players in, and a lot. Look, we know they're in Europe, but they've also bought wisely.
Aston Villa, what about them?
Villa, brilliant as well. Done the same thing. Brought a whole host of players in. And I think Villa will be in the top 4 this season, funny enough. And
Villa?
I'm going to say that, top 4.
Improving from last season, you mean?
Improving from last season.
Where they were so close to getting into the
Exactly.
top 4. Yeah. Now let's talk about, you spoke about Ipswich and how tough it will be as one of the 3 newcomers. They've just started off the new season half an hour or so ago against mighty Liverpool. Now, that can't be easy. Coming back to the top flight against a side of the size and stature of Liverpool, but is it a good time to play Liverpool with the new coach, maybe a new way?
I think it's a very good time to play them, If you're going to get a point, this is the time to do it. But, I can't see that happening. I think Liverpool will be far too strong. As I said, it has started. They'll be far too strong for us.
Mm-hmm. Arsenal Wolves? You mentioned Wolves, the lack of signing. Arsenal's at home, by the way.
Yeah, Arsenal, the Wolves haven't brought in anyone. They're going to struggle. Arsenal will win easily. City as well. I think they'll win easily.
Here's one game I know you and I are looking forward to later on today, early evening. West Ham against Aston Villa. That's a mouth-watering clash for me.
It's a great one to watch because I'll tell you what, both teams are brought in wisely. Both teams are looking for better than they did last season. This is a very difficult one, I think a draw will be on the cards on that one. Draw or leaning towards Aston Villa. But this is going to show you where both teams are for the season. And these 2 teams are going to take points off some of the top teams this year.
Well, there's a huge one to look forward to tomorrow, Chelsea against Manchester City. But before we talk about the fixture itself, let's talk about Chelsea. They've been a huge talking point over the last 2-3 seasons, either from a coaching point of view, a personnel point of view, where they're hurling in players and letting a whole lot of players go. What do you think of Chelsea and stability right now?
Once again, new coach, so you're going to have to give him a little bit of time to establish himself. Look, they brought in a few players.
As per
normal with them. I saw a little tweet on Twitter the other day, on X, saying they got a triple-decker bus with players going against. But, to get their squad to gel is going to be difficult. That's why I think in this first game, I think City will win. But Chelsea will also be there. They're always going to be there. And they're going to do well. But I think City, because of where they are established, will get the better of them in this one.
Then Monday's an interesting one. Leicester, one of the new boys again, they're up against Tottenham, but they're at home again against Tottenham, which is...
We haven't spoken about Tottenham. Brought in Solanke, a very good buy. They didn't have a striker last year. If you think they played Son, they played a false 9 type thing. Solanke's an out-and-out striker. Is that what they needed? We'll see. I think, again, they'll be one of those teams that'll be thereabouts. Hopefully, for the Spurs supporters, that they do that.
Now, there's always the curious case of Newcastle United. I say the curious case because over the last 3-4 years, there's been a huge buy-in, huge expectation, an impressive season, and a big fall-off in the season that followed, which was last season, where they underperformed, so to speak, according to expectation. So they are up against Southampton later on today. What are your thoughts on them?
Good start for Southampton. Because if you look at Newcastle, they haven't brought any players in. Surprisingly. Very surprisingly. They've got the money, but they haven't brought the players in. We have to remember that last season they had a lot of injury worries. They're starting off with one of the centre-backs out injured right at the beginning of the season. I just feel that they haven't brought players in, which is a big surprise to me. They'll always be the team that you're going to struggle against, especially at Newcastle. But a title contender, not for me.
Wow. So the long wait of the new season start is finally over. While we hear what's going on in England with Shane McGregor, he'll be back next week, of course, to continue to break down the season as it goes. Exciting times over the next 10 months. Stay with us here on GameON as we now break down the local game on the other side of this with Jerry Swasana.
Check these guys. Let's show them how to do that. I see it. Let's have a
your feet like this.
Let's see how you play.
Move your feet like this.
Welcome back to GameON. Now, as we promised you, we do have the legendary Jerry Swasana to talk all things local in as far as the MTN8 with the action having gotten underway. And baspoilile kancane in the first week. Kodwa bakhona 8 around the 2 games. This weekend in Sandukula, it was hard to see goals. Tough for Sundowns. Extremely tough for Sundowns.
Yeah, I mean, we can give credit from the first games, like first quarterfinals that we played, where we managed to have 8 goals. It was exciting to say there would be a lot of excitement in this league going forward. But yeah, in the second game, but I did talk to you. It wasn't going to be easy for both teams that are going to go through. But I would feel pity for Sekhukhune because they had a chance of scoring a penalty which they missed. But Cape Town City took advantage of their penalty to go through with that 1-0 score. But now you go to Sundowns, of which for me, not a convincing team that I know of in terms of Sundowns. I mean, they were playing Polokwane City. They were just let off the hook, to be honest. And the own goal that was scored by Polokwane City. But you also look at the red card that happened with Dennis Onyango. And Libusa being the goalkeeper. And I asked myself a question to say, what prompted Sundowns not to make a change in that moment? Because if a mistake did happen, and Polokwane City scores against Libusa, what was going to be the question to the Sundowns technical team? Because they made a change in extra time, where Jody February got in and then Mashik was replaced. So for me, it's something that I'm saying there is something wrong happening in the Sundowns camp.
I asked you last week about Sundowns being the favourites of this tournament coming in as defending champions. You thought maybe there was an upset on the cards. They almost lost. What do you think of Sundowns now going forward? Are they still your favourites going into the semi-finals?
Not at all, Sizwe. I mean, one needs to put the facts. I played the game before, and I know when players are happy, players are like united. But what I saw in the Sundowns camp, it was a lot of individualism compared to what they used to do with Coach Rulani. I'm not blaming the technical team now, but I'm saying there is something not good with Sundowns, the way I saw them play against Polokwane City, not convincing, the way they play in terms of positioning, also themselves. There was an instance where a pass was supposed to be given to Ribeiro inside the box, where Tembazwane, it bounced back to Tembazwane and he hit the ball over the roof. I mean, there was like a little bit of exchange of words in that. That's where you look and say the unity is missing in that team. So that's why I say for me, Sundowns, not the favourite for top 8 again.
Now, another side we spoke about a lot last week was Sekhukhune, who were up against Cape Town City. Now I want to talk about what we were worried about. The coaching changed before the season even starts. Talented group of players with Bomunara, you can see some of the additions to the squad are good players. But now, this issue with the coaching change before the season starts, do you see that maybe slowing the progress down at the early parts of the season?
Caesar, I think there was a time when I was talking, my concern was like, what is happening with the technical team in clubs in terms of the coaching element. And this is another one that was the latest into it. So we don't know if there is still going to be some other casualties in the teams. You know, it's so bad when players are used to somebody who trained them for a certain period. And when they go and play the game, which was the MTN 8, and the coach was no longer there. I mean, the coach had to do a resignation because of some things that happened on the outside, you know. So for me, it was disturbing. And if you look at the way they play good football. Maybe it was a bad omen for them to lose the coach, miss a penalty, and also be scored against them.
Twice, there's 2 penalties here too.
That's something which is not good as well.
Interesting games then with the penalties and how things went down with them in Cape Town City. But now, let's look forward. Cape Town City, Orlando Pirates. Your thoughts on that game?
Well, first leg, I might say it's going to be a draw. I don't think Cape Town City can get away with it, even though they're playing like in Cape Town. But Pirates might go there just for a draw because there is a second league that is coming in Joburg. That's where I will give the advantage to Pirates to say Pirates will gonna go through to the finals.
If Cape Town City are corner, maybe by 1 goal at Cape Town, do you see them possibly standing a chance to win both legs?
Yeah? Yeah. No, I don't think so. They're going to be under pressure. The support that Pirates are going to have there, in the way they played against the Super Sport, you could tell. Some of the players, it's not what they are capable of, but the support that they get from our supporters. So it's something which is so eyenza player ukuthi lifake extra effort because nama ngeke lose man kugcwele lapha kusikama Minzela. I wouldn't.
So, Jerry, now, Masculine Sundowns and Stellenbosch. Your thoughts on this game? Sundowns, the first leg will be at home. Stellenbosch, of course, will look to finish it at home in the second leg, but there's drama there.
Yeah, there's going to be drama. It's going to be drama because you look at Stellenbosch, I mean, they look good. I mean, they had 3-1 win over TS Galaxy in Cape Town. But yeah, for Sundowns, they need to make sure their first leg, they must make sure they just win that first leg at Lucas Morepe, because it's going to be difficult when they go to Stellenbosch. But we look at how things are not going rosy for Stellenbosch because they're not going to play their game in Cape Town. They've changed the venue to Durban. So I think that's where Sundowns might...
Is it now advantage Sundowns?
Advantage Sundowns because the whole supporters from Gauteng and stuff, they're going to go and support Sundowns like in Durban. So I think this one, we might be in cards for a good final because I'm saying Pirates are going to go through. And this one, I think Sundowns, because of the second leg advantage as well. It was last season. By opening. It's going to be good. Good football for Tina Limzans.
What a return it could be. Imagine that. The way we ended last season, the drama in the cup competition that ended last season, and the drama with that continuing with part 2 at the start of this season. Could it be? Well, let's wait and find out together as Jerry gives us his predictions, of course, and stay with us here on Game On as we, on the other side of this, discuss those that have graduated from the CAF C license and a special lady, while giving us insight on how women are playing a huge part in the future of South African football. Welcome back to Game On now. As you know, and as many of you know, Hollywood's Foundation has played a huge role in the development of the African game, I should say, with the CAF B or CAF C license diploma graduation having recently taken place. So let's find out more about that. And we have a special interview on the other side of this to, well, go deeper into the subject.
The coaches know the importance of empowering themselves and making sure they continue to grow, and their huge roles are acknowledged across the board.
What a journey that we had when we started with the course. At the beginning, I had doubts. I'm like, oh, hi. Football has evolved from where I started and with what I was learning through the journey. I must say I'm actually excited. I'm over the moon.
If South African football wants to compete and become the best in terms of the global stage, then we need accredited, we need qualified, we need educated coaches to be able to guide our teams, from grassroots level all the way to the professional level, to our national teams. It'll translate.
Sponsors are our lifeblood in terms of delivering our various programs, working with our national teams, working with our regions, etc. So it's really key that we've got sponsors like Hollywoodbets on board and the Hollywoodbets Foundation, that continue to support us in terms of achieving the various goals that we've set ourselves, especially, producing more women's football coaches and also, empowering the coaches that are working with women's football.
I would say the future is bright. Programs like this are not just a flash in the pan. Programs like this are part of a legacy project. We want to see these female coaches one day graduate as B licensed coaches and eventually as A licensed coaches. But not only that, we want them to be placed in professional outfits, in professional clubs. As we try as Hollywoodbets also to develop and improve the standard of the women's game in this country, we need qualified coaches to be sitting on those benches and barking out the instructions and to be drilling the players during those training sessions. So that speaks to the bigger ecosystem. But not only that, we're not developing female coaches for the female game, we're developing female coaches for the game, which means from school all the way to the elite level and hopefully the PSL.
Welcome back to Game On, and as we promised you, a special interview with, of course, Coach Nelisiwe Mutswaka, amongst those that recently graduated with a CAF C license. And Coach, firstly, congratulations on your accomplishments. And secondly, please can you take us through your background that gets you to this point in your involvement in football?
Okay, thank you so much. I was well introduced, Coach Nelisiwe. I like that. Well, where it all began, from where I grew up, same street, we had two teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was always a atmosphere, the hype around football, because when they playing against each other, it was a derby, you know. So I would also follow these men who would carry balls around 4 o'clock and go to the field behind our houses there. I'm like, okay, this one every day around 4 o'clock, Tuesday, Thursday, he passes here. What's going on, you know? Then I would follow, then go watch as they train, and, you know. I was not a good player, by the way.
Yeah.
But later on, I decided to join the team, though it was boys only.
Sure.
But they had junior teams, under 11, 15. So I would play on 11, 15, and 17. Maybe given time, I was going to be a good defender.
Yeah.
But I was not that good. But I was captaining the team. The armband was mine. Maybe because of outspeak, you know, then they decided to say, no, this one should be the captain. But yeah, it was just the atmosphere where I grew up, because it was a football community. Hence, I just said that there were two teams on the same street, you know. And then coming to football now very closely, I was introduced to Safai Kuruleni after 2010, I think 2011. Yes, then I started asking there to say, how can one be involved in the game and whatsoever? Then I was welcomed with open arms by President Job Mkhunu. By that time, he was still in REO.
Yeah.
Then he said, there's a room for growth, but it's up to you to see what is it that you can do. So when I started, I would be a team manager for their regional squad. Then I get to learn admin then there. And I also owned the club, by the way, which was playing under Safai Kuruleni Women's Regional League.
Okay.
But the struggles of owning a club, then I realized, you know what, I'm not going to be able to carry this thing. That's how I decided to emerge with Ubabum Konza under Springs Home Sweepers. Then I took the girls that I had at the time and said, Coach, I wanted to do it, but I can't.
Yeah.
Maybe it's people like you that are given this thing. But can you just please take these girls and make something out of them? And then he said, no, I'm not going to take the girls. I actually need you in my team as well. So I will take the girls only if we're going to team up and be a team together.
Nice.
That was 2013, if I'm not mistaken. And then till today, I'm still working with Ubabum Konza under Springs Home Sweepers.
Yeah.
I'm a team manager for the Sasol team. And then I assist in coaching the boys under 13 and under 11, because I'm very passionate with development. So Safai Kuruleni now, the admin part, I'm responsible for coaching education.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I'm more of a coach than an administrator.
I understand. I have to ask you though now, the women's part of involvement in the game and the development of the game seems to be growing. I believe there were more women than men in this C license course of yours.
Yes, the reason being was through my research when hosting these courses, the question was, we know that there are women that are coaching, but why do they only end at D? Or is there a problem? Maybe financial constraints, maybe they're afraid to express themselves, you know, because in most cases you get in a class, there's going to be only 1 or 2 females in the class.
So this time there were 20, no?
They were 20, yes. So they were actually dominating the class.
Yeah.
So the question was, maybe it's a question of, if I'm alone there, it's a question of, will I be given the room for expressing myself? Will I be able to participate, discuss with, you know? Then we said, let's create an environment where it's going to be mostly women, whereby we see that, is it the problem of being alone in the room, or it's a question of maybe they need their safe space or the environment where they can engage amongst themselves, you know. That's where we come up with that concept with Hollywood Foundation.
Now, I have to ask you quickly, are you still looking to push on with your coaching badges, and how far are you going to take it?
Definitely. I mean, last year I traveled with the Gauteng team to Italy for the Tricolor Games. And we actually lost on finals to penalties against Sassuolo. So we came home with the silver. So that was a motivation for me to say, you know what? I got this, therefore I must continue. By the way, I also occupied my provincial colours 2013 after I graduated on my D license. The tournament was the tournament we used to have every year. They were funded by the Safa Legacy Trust. It's Nelson Mandela Challenge. So I coached that Gauteng under-13 team and we won the tournament. I also got the coach of the tournament. That's where I actually said, you know what?
Go for it.
I must just grab this thing and go with it.
All right, thank you so much for your time, Coach Nandisi, and we wish you the very best in the future going forward.
Most definitely. We're just trying to say we are here within the space. We are growing with women's football as it's growing. So who knows? Maybe one of the good days you will see us in the PSL, but we are there and we are dominating the space.
Certainly are, and it's a great story to tell, of course, as far as South African football and the growth and the involvement of women in ensuring that we develop in the right direction. So thank you so much to Coach Nandisi, to you at home, as well as Jerry Skosana and Shane McGregor for joining us in another exciting episode of Game On. From me, Caesar Mapena, and the rest of the team that is behind the scenes, click, click, bang.